Before the city stirs, before the sound of footsteps in the hallway or the hum of traffic on the street, there is a space that feels both fragile and sacred. The light outside is still shy, not yet spilling into the room. The air feels cooler, almost hesitant, as though the world itself is holding its breath. And in this space, something happens in the human heart. It wakes, and it listens. Sometimes, it listens to fear before anything else. Sometimes, it listens to the echo of yesterday's unfinished burdens. And sometimes, if we choose differently, it listens to God. I wonder how you woke up today. Was it with that tightness in the chest that comes before your mind has even named why? Was it with the familiar weight pressing down before you've had your first sip of water? Perhaps your first thoughts were of the bills waiting in that drawer, or the health report sitting unopened, or the safety of someone you love. It happens to so many of us. Our minds are rehearsing the day's dangers before our bodies have even fully returned from sleep. This is not weakness. It's human wiring. Neuroscience tells us that in the first moments after waking, our brain is highly sensitive, scanning for threats, but heaven offers a different way to begin. The prophet Isaiah described it in a way that feels almost like a morning ritual. He wakens me, morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen like one being instructed. Isaiah 54. Do you hear the tenderness in that? God does not rush into your morning with noise. He wakes your ear, he leans in, he whispers instruction, not to burden you but to anchor you before the waves come. It is a call to choose whose voice you will hear first. I have felt the difference myself. The mornings I reached for the phone before I reached for him, and the mornings I chose to sit still in his presence before stepping into the noise. On those days, even if nothing in my circumstances changed, something in me did. It was as though the atmosphere inside shifted from heavy to light, from frantic to steady. It is not that the problems disappeared, but they lost their grip. His voice had claimed the first word. Perhaps this morning, you are here because you want that shift too. You are tired of being ambushed by your own thoughts before the day has even begun. You are ready to let the voice of God cut through the static of fear. You want to step into your day, not as someone bracing for impact, but as someone walking with the quiet assurance that you have already met with the one who holds it all. So let this be our choice together here and now. Before anything else, before the headlines, before the messages, before the flood of obligations, we will pray. We will lean in to hear the whisper of the one who already knows every hour ahead. We will place our first thoughts, our first breath, our first awareness in his hands, and in doing so, we will discover that the morning, no matter how heavy it began, can be softened by his presence. There is a particular stillness in the moments before the day takes its full shape. Yet in that stillness, something else can arrive uninvited. Fear. It doesn't always come in loud, dramatic ways. Sometimes it is a faint tightening in your stomach before your eyes are fully open. Sometimes it is the restless urge to move, to fix, to plan, as though the simple act of lying still for a few more minutes would let something terrible slip through your fingers. The body already knows this feeling. Science tells us that cortisol, the hormone of stress, is often at its highest when we first wake. And the soul knows it too because the enemy of peace has long used the early hours to plant seeds of unrest. This is why mornings can feel heavier than evenings. The mind has not yet gathered its armor, and the heart is still tender from the vulnerability of sleep. Into that unguarded space, thoughts of what might go wrong rush in. The calendar flashes its demands. The memory of yesterday's conversations replays with a sting. Even the thought of the hours ahead can feel like standing at the foot of a steep hill, unsure if you have the strength to climb. But there is another truth, waiting to meet that moment. Psalm 143:8 says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you." The writer does not ask for the problems to vanish before sunrise. He asks for a reminder that love is still present, that trust can still be placed in the hands that have never failed. This is the antidote to fear, not the absence of challenges, but the awareness of unfailing love. Fear often wears the disguise of urgency. It tells you to start moving before you have even found your balance. It convinces you that the only way to feel safe is to begin fixing, arranging, controlling. But that false security is as thin as morning fog. It feels dense, it blinds the view, and yet, the moment the sun rises, it begins to dissolve. So it is with fear in the presence of God's light. There is a quiet defiance in allowing love to be the first word you hear. It is not denial, it is alignment. It is saying, I will not let fear define the shape of my day before it has even begun. And in that choice, the early hours can be transformed, not into hours free of all tension, but into hours grounded in a deeper reality. That you are not stepping into the day alone, and no shadow that greets you at dawn has the power to outlast the light that has already risen over you. There is a moment, brief and delicate, between waking and being fully awake. In that space, the world has not yet rushed in with its demands, but it waits just beyond the edge of consciousness. The phone, resting on the bedside table, is already filled with voices. News headlines, unanswered messages, reminders of what must be done. Even without touching it, the mind knows they are there. This is the first fork in the road of the day. Which voice will reach your heart first? When the Gospels describe Jesus rising early, the detail is not an accident. Mark 1:35 says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. He removed himself from the noise before the noise could reach him. He chose a different sound to begin his day, the sound of the Father's voice. The quiet of that early hour was not empty, it was full. It was the meeting place where direction, strength, and peace were poured into his spirit before a single demand of the day could touch him. We live in a time when silence often feels uncomfortable, almost unnatural. The constant hum of notifications and conversations makes stillness seem like absence. But in the language of heaven, silence is not absence. It is presence without interruption. It is where God speaks in ways that are not competing with the noise, but quietly enduring beyond it. Tuning into him in those first moments is like tuning an instrument before a performance. The concert will still have its moments of tension, its sharp notes, its unexpected pauses, but the melody will be steady because it was aligned before the music began. In the same way, when your heart has been tuned to God's voice before the day's chaos begins, the tone of your responses changes. You carry a rhythm that is not set by the urgency of the world, but by the steadiness of heaven. This first hearing is not about long speeches or elaborate rituals. It is about orientation, turning your inner ear toward the one who already knows what the day holds. It is about allowing his voice to settle into the deepest part of you before any other sound arrives. And when that happens, you discover that no matter how loud the world becomes, its noise no longer sets the direction of your soul. There are mornings when the body wakes, but the heart still feels pinned beneath the weight of yesterday. The mind begins its list before the first step is taken. Unpaid bills, conversations left unresolved, the ache of a diagnosis, the silent tension that lingers after a conflict. These thoughts do not knock. They arrive as if they never left, carrying the same heaviness you felt the night before. It is as though you have been asked to begin a long journey while carrying a bag you never chose to pack. In these moments, the words of Matthew 11:28 sound like a deep sigh of relief. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." The invitation is not to ignore the weight or pretend it doesn't exist. It is to place it into hands stronger than yours, into a presence that can carry what you cannot. Rest here is not only about the body lying down, it is about the soul no longer holding what was never meant to be held alone. There is a quiet miracle that happens when surrender comes first. Emotional fatigue, which often takes root by midday, begins to loosen its hold before it can grow. The day is not lighter because the tasks have vanished, but because the heart is no longer dragging them through every step. The pace changes, the breathing changes, even the smallest actions feel different when they are not weighed down by invisible stones. Picture this. A traveler stands at the edge of a road, a heavy backpack pressing into her shoulders. She knows the road ahead will be long. Then someone she trusts approaches and offers to take the load. The path remains the same, the distance unchanged, but her steps feel new, unhurried, unstrained, steady. This is what happens when the soul allows God to carry what has been pressing into its spirit. The hours ahead may still hold challenges, but they are no longer faced from a place of depletion. They are met with the quiet confidence that nothing in your hands is heavier than the one who holds you. And in that exchange, the wait for his rest, you find the strength to step forward without the constant pull of yesterday slowing you down. Some mornings, before the body is fully awake, the mind is already visiting the doorsteps of those you love. It wanders into the day they are about to face, the road your spouse will drive, the classroom your child will sit in, the workplace where tensions sometimes rise, the hospital room where a loved one may still be lying. There is a tenderness in this concern, but also a quiet ache because you know that no amount of watching can truly shield them from every harm. That knowledge can settle heavy in the chest. It is in that space of longing and limitation that the promise of Psalm 91:11 comes alive. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. This is not an abstract comfort. It is the assurance that heaven is not distant or indifferent to the lives you hold dear. It is the image of divine presence surrounding each one, not only in the moments you can see, but in all the places your eyes will never reach today. Protection in God's language is not the absence of trouble. It is his nearness in the midst of it. It is the unshakable reality that no matter what shadows cross their path, they are never unaccompanied. And in the mystery of his care, the unseen becomes the most certain, the shield you cannot touch but can trust completely. There is a deep peace in speaking each name before him, almost like placing them into his keeping one by one. It is not a ritual of fear, but an act of release, as if you are locking the door of their safety not with a key of iron, but with the key of heaven itself. You acknowledge that the same God who sees the sparrow fall will see them through this day. The mind may still return to its what-ifs, but in this surrender those what-ifs lose their power to dictate the tone of your morning. You are not handing your loved ones over to fate. You are entrusting them to the one who has walked every path they will take, who will be their shelter in sunlight and in storm. And in that entrusting, both your heart and theirs find a place to rest. No matter how carefully we plan, there is an unspoken truth woven into every morning. We do not know what the day will hold. The hours stretch out before us like a path disappearing into fog. There may be laughter ahead, or there may be tears. There may be moments of ease, or moments that ask more of us than we feel ready to give. This uncertainty can quietly pull at the edges of our peace because the human heart often longs for control. Yet there is a deeper invitation to meet the unknown not with fear, but with a strength that is renewed from above. Isaiah 40:31 holds that invitation in words that have carried countless souls through uncharted days. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Notice the rhythm here: soaring, running, walking. There will be days of great lift when your spirit rises high above the weight of circumstance. There will be days that demand steady running when endurance is needed, and there will be days that are simply about continuing to put one foot in front of the other, walking forward without fainting. God promises strength for each of these, not only for the extraordinary moments, but for the ordinary hours when perseverance itself is an act of faith. Strength, in this promise, is more than the ability to lift or move. It is the quiet resilience that lets you face what comes without collapsing inside. It is emotional steadiness when conversations turn hard, spiritual courage when news arrives that tries to shake you, the ability to still choose love when weariness whispers that it's easier to withdraw. Think of how you charge your phone overnight, preparing it for the day's tasks. Prayer does this for the soul. It restores what was drained yesterday. It fills reserves you may not know you will need. And just as you would not expect a device to run endlessly without power, your spirit too needs to draw from a source beyond itself. When this strength comes from God, it does not depend on perfect circumstances. It is not broken by interruptions or altered by surprises. It flows in the background of your day, steady and sufficient, because it comes from the one who already knows every detail ahead. And as you step into those unknown hours, you carry with you the quiet certainty that nothing will arrive today without finding you held in his strength. There are voices that rise with the morning, not from outside the window, but from within the mind. They speak in tones that sound familiar, almost like your own thoughts, yet they carry a weight that presses rather than lifts. They remind you of what you did not accomplish yesterday, of the words you wish you had not spoken, of the places in your life that still feel unfinished or broken. These voices rarely shout. They whisper persistently, hoping you will mistake them for truth. The inner critic has a way of waking early, and when it does, it often comes clothed in accusation or discouragement. It tells you that you are not enough, that your efforts are too small, that your hope is unrealistic. And though the volume may be low, the repetition can be relentless. If left unchallenged, these lies begin to shape the way you step into your day, shrinking your confidence, dimming your expectation, dulling your joy. But John 10:27 offers a different narrative. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. Here is a voice that is steady, personal, and unmistakably kind. It does not compete with the noise of accusation by becoming louder. It remains, enduring past the echo of every false word. It speaks identity, not condemnation. It calls you by name, not by your failures. God's voice is often gentler than we expect, yet it carries more authority than the harshest thought that tries to plant itself in your heart. It does not flatter or distract. It tells the truth in a way that frees rather than binds. And when you allow that voice to be the one you hear first, something shifts inside, not only in how you feel, but in how you move through the hours ahead. Imagine a lighthouse in a storm. The waves crash, the wind howls, the darkness presses close, but the light continues its steady turning, guiding without haste, unwavering in its rhythm. This is what the voice of God is like to the soul. It will not silence the storm instantly, but it will keep you from losing your way within it. When the lies rise early, you can let them be answered by what he has already spoken over you. Truths that are anchored in his word, truths that outlast the shifting emotions of a single morning. And in doing so, you begin to walk into your day, not carrying the weight of falsehood, but standing in the calm assurance that you are fully known, deeply loved, and guided by a voice that never misleads. There is a way to enter the day that feels different from simply waking and moving forward. It is quieter, yet stronger. It is not marked by the rush of alarms and obligations, but by a steady confidence that has been shaped in the presence of God before the first step was taken. When his voice has been the first to reach you, the day no longer begins with uncertainty. It begins with a foundation. This foundation does not erase the unknowns ahead. The hours may still bring moments that test your patience, challenge your faith, or stir your emotions. But they are no longer approached alone. The Spirit of God walks before you, beside you, and within you. Each conversation, each task, each pause is carried in the quiet assurance that you have already been heard, already been seen, already been strengthened for what is to come. Before tomorrow's first light, there will be another moment like this. Another chance for your first awareness to be of him rather than of fear or burden. And each time you choose that alignment, you deepen the habit of living from his presence rather than reacting to the world's demands. Over time, this becomes less of a discipline and more of a natural posture, beginning in him, moving with him, ending in him. Let this day and the days that follow be shaped by that first meeting in the stillness. Let your heart remember that his guidance is not given only for great decisions, but for the smallest steps. Let your mind rest in the truth that his protection is not a distant hope, but a present reality. And let your soul carry the unshakable knowledge that nothing you face today will be faced without him. Father, Thank you for the gift of this morning. Thank you for the breath that sustains, the light that guides, and the love that anchors. I place this day into your hands, every moment, every decision, every unknown. Be my refuge when I feel unsteady, my wisdom when I am unsure, and my strength when I grow weary. Protect those I love. Guard the path before me, and let your presence shape every word I speak and every step I take. In Jesus' name, amen. And as you go now, picture yourself stepping through the doorway of this day, wrapped not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet confidence of God's love. A love that will not fade when the sun sets. A love that will remain with you in every breath until you return again to His presence in the next morning's stillness.